What's going on, everybody? Josh, StarterRainGutterBusiness.com. Today we got a new video for you. How to reinstall your old gutters after you get a new roof. Check it out. So we run into this circumstance quite a bit. Homeowner gets a new roof put on, roofers want the gutters taken down. Sometimes you'll replace them, sometimes you'll try to salvage your old ones. We would recommend, if they're out of their warranty period, which is for us is 3 years for just a standard install, probably think about getting new ones. If it's a pretty simple system and everything's working fine, then that's fine. You can throw them back up. It kind of depends on what you want. If you want everything looking nice and new gutters is a good idea. A lot of times insurance will pay for both the roof and the gutters, so keep that in mind too. But anyways, we're at our shop. Got a new roof put on here, so we had these taken down. We took them down and just dug them out from behind the building, and so we're throwing them back up. Wanted to go through that process with you guys, so check it out. So the first thing you want to do is kind of make sure and check everything out. Sometimes it's easier to see issues when the gutters are down on the ground before you reinstall them. So just kind of check all your hangers, make sure none of them are bent. Check your end caps, make sure the glue looks nice and sealed, no cracks in it, anything like that. Another issue could be your outlet, your downspout outlet. Make sure there's no tears around that. Make sure the downspout's gonna fit it good again. But other than that, it should be pretty straightforward. So like I said, these gutters were only maybe like a little over a year old probably. So they got a little dirt on them, some scratches, but they're totally reusable. So first thing I'm going to do with this one is make sure and clean it out good before we reinstall it, so all this junk doesn't go back on the building. The roofers kind of left some junk in here. So when cleaning these out, all this stuff was just kind of stuck to the bottom of the gutter just over the years, you know, it gets wet, dry, sticks. So I just like to just break it up with my hands or a screwdriver or like a spatula type thing. And then it's all unstuck from the metal. And then you can just dump it out. So I'll kind of get all the bigger stuff out here first. And then I'll just tip the gutter one way and it'll dump out one end. Pretty good. Got all the big stuff. So I'll just pick it up. Just use the gutter as a giant funnel, basically. There we are. Pretty clean. So on this particular situation, a couple things changed. The wood is the same and the fascia, but we have a little kick flashing here that's probably going to extend our gutter over a little bit. So you could either trim your gutter. It's not going to be much, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to run it a little longer. I actually need a little length over there anyways. So it's kind of one thing to keep in mind if you're reusing your old gutters. You can't be quite as picky as having a brand new setup. So the drip edge is also a little deeper on this, so we got to kind of keep that in mind. Probably going to have to trim that top elbow a little bit to fit up onto the gutter. And other than that, we should be good. So we checked our gutter out, it's good to go. I'm gonna kind of prep our drip edge, both ends of the drip edge, and then we'll reinstall it. It's kind of 50-50 whether they put new drip edge on with your new roof or not, but this changed from asphalt shingles to standing seam steel roof. So the new drip edge, we're just gonna kind of trim this up to make sure our gutter fits back in the right spot. It's a lot easier to trim this beforehand than it is after. So basically what I'm doing is trying to make a channel for that gutter to fit through right in this area. So keep in mind, I've done thousands of times. So a lot of times it's a little harder to get up under the drip edge, whatever, especially by yourself. It's easier to have two people, one on each end, kind of wiggling the ends in. But what I do is get the middle up, make sure my ends are good, which I can feel that end is good, and it should be fine over there. So I'll just tack this in and then check them out personally. So like I said, this roof changed a little, so gutter's a little long now. Not a big deal. If it bugs me in the future, I can always cut it down shorter, but I think it's fine. Next, I check that end is good. This end, I'm gonna get the downspout kind of oriented so it's not holding me up, just so it's about in the right spot. So when you're leveling across, and it kind of acts as a helper, so it's kind of nice. I always start when you're leveling, I have the center tacked. When I'm leveling, I always start from the high end, work towards the downspout. Okay, so if this were a shingle roof with a standard D-style drip edge, I would have just had these hangers in already in the gutter. Since it's a standing seam, it's a lot easier to get that gutter wedged up under behind the drip edge. With a standing seam with a lower pitched roofs, you want that gutter up under there quite a ways, which then if your hangers are already in there, you're fighting these hangers hooking the drip edge and you dent the front and it's a mess. So this is how I like to do most standing seam roofs, is just go ahead and install the gutters, the hangers as I go. Another thing to mention, on reinstall of old gutters, I don't like to use my level inside the gutter because there's always some junk in there or dents or whatever just stuck to the metal. So with reinstallation, I always throw my level on the bottom of the gutter. It's always cleaner and you have to worry about as many obstacles with your level. As far as leveling these goes, if it's a shorter gutter, and I would say plenty of pitch is touching the line, which I believe is just, they call one bubble. This level only has one line on it, so I know some have multiple lines. But if you go one bubble, which is touching the first line, that's plenty of pitch. On longer gutters, 1/4 inch every 40 feet is enough slope. So what I found is that's just to where you can tell that bubble is not in the center of the lines, is about 1/4 inch every 40 feet. Just some helpful facts. So we're in Montana, lots of snow and ice, and I like to do my hangers every 16 inches on center for like a fairly heavy duty install. Our contractor stuff is 20 inches on center. So this is our shop, so I'm doing 16 inches on center, which happens to be the same width as these panels. So I'm just lining them up with each panel. That way I don't have to measure them out. So sometimes when you're reinstalling these, it ends up in a different position just because of the drip edge or whatever. So you can just either trim this elbow down. It's the easiest way to do it because it's a lot easier than having to remount the downspout. And then your gutter sits down lower on that trimmed elbow. So whenever you're reinstalling these zip screws are probably the hardest thing to track down out of everything. Definitely recommend new fasteners for the hangers, as long as all the hangers are in good shape. But zip screws to put the downspouts back together, they seem to wander off very easily and get lost during reinstallation. So keep that in mind. If you go to the hardware store, make sure and grab extra zip screws. But as long as you got this in a pretty decent, like similar location, should be able to put your downspout right back into where it was and good to go. One tool to mention that you guys might not have at home that was very helpful for hanging rain gutters is some sort of a bit extension. I would say at least 6 inches, depending on what size your gutters are. But it just helps bridge that gap over the front edge of the gutter to where you're not trying to get your drill up and in there. So if you're swinging by the hardware store before you start your project, 6-inch bit extension. Very helpful. And there it is, gutter up. Just a couple more tips for you guys. If you have any sections with corners on your house, like a 90-degree corner where a gable meets another gable, make sure you have 2 people for those. I usually try to keep the corners assembled, take both sections down, and then put them back up just like that. That way you don't have to mess around with the corner. It just saves a little bit of time. Other than that, thanks for watching. Hope we helped you guys out. Make sure to like, subscribe. See you on the next one.